Preview. Cop movies, 15 best films about police officers. Cop flicks have been around for as long as people have been making movies. Conversely, there's something extremely satisfying about seeing hardened criminals brought to justice, or simply blown away by a maverick detective's 44 Magnum who needs the paperwork, and watching flat-footed plot being repeatedly eluded by Robin Hood as master thieves. We can't get enough of law-breaking and law enforcement. For Hollywood at least, crime certainly does pay, and as a result there's no sign of police movies going out of fashion anytime soon. Well, that's great for the veteran Sienna who consumes the stuff 5 nights a week. The amateur might find the sheer number of options a little overwhelming. Enter Team Celebrity with our pick of the 15 best police movies ever. Grab a coffee and a donut and enjoy. Training Day 2001. Training Day is a well-done film that brings out the best of both Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke, in addition to a very interesting story of justice and corruption. For the first 2/3 of the movie, the director makes us to snoop around the central characters. We get to observe these two very different people laugh, argue, help, and betray each other over the course of a single day, and it makes for a truly great character study. It's unfortunately during the last third when the film starts to falter. It requires a major suspension of disbelief, and things become a little too convenient for otherwise such a realistic movie. ROBOCOP 1987, considered as one of the most iconic action films of the 1980s. ROBOCOP by Paul Verhoeven is an exhilarating ride filled with riveting, over-the-top action, impressive visuals, and most importantly, a thoroughly engaging story. The film is humorous at many times in its portrayal of the media and consumerism. There are themes of corporate greed, privatization, and capitalism present in the film that give it a timely factor. The character RoboCop is one of the matchless cop characters to have appeared on the silver screen, and it exalted even more. It has held up very well and is a well-balanced one that will never let you go. Lethal Weapon 1987. Lethal Weapon kind of changed the way in which people viewed action movies and laid the perfect foundation of the top-notch series of films that followed. It set a standard for the buddy cop genre with the unforeseen differences in the lives of the two central characters, Martin Riggs, Mel Gibson, and Roger Murtaugh, Danny Glover, which also provides for lots of fun to be had later in the movie. Riggs and Murtaugh are probably the best buddy cop duo ever with their absolutely brilliant chemistry. Shane Black's witty writing mixed with Richard Donner's precious directing paved way for an entertainment film. It is a must-watch if you love action, comedy, and drama all at once. And The Watch 2012, one of the best cop movies from recent years. And The Watch is a brilliantly exuded cop drama that is enticing and it is unrelenting. It is one of the most realistic cop movies ever made. We follow the lives of Brian Taylor, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Miguel Zavala, Michael Pena, two members of the LAPD, as they accomplish their job of protecting and serving. The film provides the viewer with a great historical background on the issue of drug violence and how it is a much larger world once you have entered it. The violence really adds to the extreme suspense. As the two cops enter this large war, their lives are put in extreme danger. Anna Kendrick and the supporting cast are so good as well, but the leads make them look almost wooden in comparison. The Fugitive 1993. The Fugitive is one of the most entertaining films ever made. It tells the story of Richard Kimball Harrison Ford, a doctor who is falsely accused of committing a murder and escaped jail from an accident involving a prison bus and is on the run as a fugitive trying to clear his innocence. The hunt is headed by Tommy Lee Jones, a U.S. Marshal, Samuel Gerard. And most of the rest of the movie involves a cat and mouse game. Jared trying to track down Kimball. It is a great entertainment with a fast-paced plot that keeps you interested with just the right amount of twists and turns which are placed evenly through the film. The action meanwhile is fantastically over the top. The train crash and the dam scene are classic moments in cinema history. The Department 2006. The Department is a film that famously won Martin Scorsese his first Oscar. This film is quite possibly Scorsese's best ensemble of any of his films. Set in the unpleasant Boston, where mobster Frank Costello runs an extremely tried and tested operation, a young up-and-comer, William Costigan, is forced to go undercover and expose his crimes. Although brutally hilarious, the department at times seems extremely forced and littered with dialogue that is trying its hardest to be approved by Tarantino aficionados. The department is not perfect, yet is visually inconsistent and has some extremely clunky dialogue, but its wonderful character acting, blistering soundtrack, and exciting narrative manages to mostly overshadow the low points. Serpico 1973, adapted from a biography by Peter Maas. Serpico had major impact on how cinema depicts members of law enforcement. Lumet understands how to craft a solid picture, and he takes his time to craft a film that tells an engaging story with phenomenal characters. This film tells the real-life story of Frank Serpico, an honest cop working in a corrupt environment. Brilliantly acted by Al Pacino, the lead character is a powerful performance that ranks among the actor's greatest works. It is the depiction of a classical situation of a man driven by noble sentiments to embody something of the civil value one expects of servants of the public trust. Die Hard 1988. Die Hard no doubt is a quintessential action film of all, directed by John McTiernan. It stars Bruce Willis as John McClare, a New York cop visiting LA to hear his wife, Bonnie Bedelia, and kids. Shortly after John arrives at his wife's big corporate Christmas party, the building is taken under control by terrorist Hans Gruber, Alan Rickman, and his 12 henchmen who are using a hostage situation as a cover while they rob the company of its riches. One of the single biggest assets of Die Hard is the simplicity of its execution. No one moment in the movie will feel out of place. Die Hard may be structured as a straightforward fight between good and evil, but the characters feel three-dimensional, with flaws which keep them memorable and make the film all the more rewarding on repeat viewing. Fargo 1996. Coen brothers have the master in painting a vivid tale out of thin air, and Fargo is their most revered achievement. The thing is, this movie it becomes all the things that you not expect to get out of it. With a story that develops into a blend of humor, violence, and thrills, the black comedy elements of Fargo make it both a bitter and comedic edge-of-seat thriller with Marge Gunderson, oh ya betcha, becoming a highlight over the course of the running time. It is one of those few films that stand the test of time and can entertain from beginning to end. It's dark, satirical, quirky, and fundamentally a unique flavor, catering to all aspects desires. The soundtracks alone would leave you stunned at the end of it. Say 7N 1995. Murder mysteries don't often indulge your audience's intellectual capacity. They generally believe they can get by on suspense, intrigue, and our inherent and insatiable need to find out who done it. But Say 7N is a philosophical thriller that addresses a much bigger part of our nature, the age-old question of whether or not humans are inherently evil. It indirectly advocates the society as a whole is migrating towards the inevitable abyss filled with specialization in many of the deadly sins. Even though humans may be ignorant to this path, it continues to occur all around us until we become dragged into it. C7N still remains a classic, excelling in all departments like cinematography and editing. Dirty Harry 1971, Clint Eastwood plays a San Francisco cop in this iconic cop movie, directed by Don Siegel. He is one man you do not want to find yourself on the bad side of because sooner or later you'll be asking yourself, do I feel lucky? This film is a fun, intense, hilarious, suspenseful ride. The lack of music used during the climaxes makes the scene even more suspenseful. It's also interesting how accurately this film portrays a corporate police force, and Harry Callahan Eastwood often just finds himself with no choice but to operate outside the law in order to get a job done and bring those bad guys to justice. It is filled with moments, scenes, and lines that are still being quoted, reenacted, and even parodied still to this day. Dirty Harry is one of the best characters to be portrayed in film ever. The French Connection 1971, the late 60s and the 70s changed American cinema with daring realism in the films and finally took the Hollywood dazzle out of these films. In this context, French Connection is a landmark achievement for the changing 70s cinema as well as the best work from William Friedkin. The film, although starts off slow, carries terrific pacing and tight, thrilling scenes. The cinematography, score, and the lead actor all add to its taste. It certainly catches the flavor of New York and has interesting sets. It is based upon actual events that occurred about a decade earlier in New York City. It swept the Oscars and was indeed the best picture of 1971. Hackman's performance justifiably earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor. LA Confidential 1997, more than just a murder mystery movie with a wonderful cast, this film shines in a way that we quite haven't seen. It is a utterly engrossing neo-noir thrill ride combining classic noir elements with stylish violence, a terrific script, a brilliant cast, and a breathtaking plot. Adapted from James Ellroy's novel of the same name, which was inspired by actual events, the film follows a group of LAPD officers who investigate a robbery turned murder at the Night Owl that involves another officer as a victim, turning the case into a more personal matter for the police department. The film has an incredible storyline that shows us that there is more to the Night Owl case than expected, and there is a lot of history between the characters, especially involving corruption, prostitution, celebrities, scandals, drugs, anything that made LA the most dangerous US city in the 40s and 50s. The Silence of the Lambs 1991. The Silence of the Lambs is a rare treat of a film with the dramatic and psychological gravitas to stand among the greatest films ever made. The film takes big risks and manages to succeed on almost every front. The film is filled with superb performance with Anthony Hopkins nailing the best in his career. Clarice is one of the best female leads ever to be in a movie, and she is played magnificently by Jodie Foster. Buffalo Bill's character adds on to the creepy factor in the movie. Silence of the Lambs never loses its pace and gives an extremely intense final. The Silence of the Lambs is ageless, like all unforgettable thrillers, and an adrenaline rush can never get lost in the sands of time. Heat 1995. This magnum opus of Michael Mann had everything a cop movie would want: an ensemble cast with powerful performances, brilliant direction, unforgettable deliveries and confrontations, action sequences, all together made a well-polished and breathtaking final product. It's a nearly 3-hour crime epic that simultaneously leaves you wanting more and makes you feel completely satisfied. There is really nothing about this film that isn't perfection. The story unfolds beautifully, never dragging. Heat is simply a testament to what can be done with the good old-fashioned cops and robbers team invested with a top-class cast and crew firing on all cylinders. This is one of the reasons why it occupies top positions on this list and is a must-watch for all film lovers.